Yeah, I was appointed a missionary, and I was sent to the East Africa branch, and I was assigned to circuit work in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
So from Virginia to Tanzania, that's quite a jump.
Yeah.
So how'd you feel about that?
I was excited. It was a new adventure, and I didn't know the language, so I'd have to learn Swahili. I'd have to learn Tanzanian Sign Language, so I would have an interpreter that would travel with me from congregation to congregation. So it was a new adventure with me and Jehovah, new culture. I couldn't wait.
There must have been challenges, though, and I think you related one to me or more that happened soon after you got there. So can you tell us about that and the effect it had on you?
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as I arrived in my assignment in Dar es Salaam, the COVID-19 pandemic started. And so now I wasn't going to be able to visit the congregations in person. I would not meet the brothers and sisters face to face. I would have to serve them over Zoom and over the phone. And about 6 months into my assignment, I woke up one morning and I had some pressure on my chest. And I was feeling anxiety because I was alone. I was isolated. My interpreter lived 6 hours away. He connected over Zoom and over the phone. And because I showed up to this little village the same time the pandemic started, as a foreigner, not knowing the language, it created some real difficulties between me and some of the villagers. So I was feeling anxiety. I was feeling alone. There were times I was scared. And for one of the first times in my life, I was feeling depressed. So I went to Jehovah in prayer and I asked him, did I do something wrong? Should I go home?
Chris, that must have been such a difficult time. How did Jehovah help you?
Jehovah's amazing. He helped me right away see what the solution was. I was giving so much in the assignment. I needed more time alone with Jehovah. So I started waking up at 5:30 in the morning. And that's early for me. I like my sleep. But it was what I needed. I'd make my coffee and I would go outside and I'd watch the African sun wake up. And as I would watch the sunrise, I felt peace because I felt like Jehovah was right there with me.
Chris, I believe you were going to share one of those, a picture of one of those beautiful African sunrises with us. Is that not true?
Yeah, that picture doesn't even do it justice.
Yeah. Well, I can see why that would help you.
I'm going to make a prediction, much like Richard Ashe. The infamous Richard Ashe made a prediction regarding Christopher Kitts. I'm going to make a prediction that Christopher Kitts will end up as a governing body member because I'm seeing all of the ego that I would expect to see in a prospective governing body member. This guy loves himself. He cannot tell a story without lacing it with references to how brilliant he is. I especially like the part where he refers to his anxiety and he says,
I was giving so much in the assignment. I needed more time alone with Jehovah.
oh yes, that was my problem. I was just giving too much of myself. There was so much of myself that I wanted to give. And it was putting me in this terrible situation. Oh, give over. This guy really, really fancies himself. It's coming across loud and clear. As to this story about going to Tanzania, I'm sorry, I've listened to this 2 or 3 times, and the first time I listened to this story, I assumed he was talking about contracting COVID-19 because he talks about going to Tanzania at the start of the pandemic and waking up one morning with a pressure on his chest. But then, as he continues to tell the story, he doesn't say anything about going to get tested or receiving any form of treatment or being in quarantine. It sounds like this pressure on his chest was purely due to anxiety. I mean, I don't know. I'm willing to be corrected on this. But any confusion on my part is not my fault. It's his fault for not telling the story or for the way it's been edited or whatever. In any case, apparently the story that we all pressingly need to hear is that Christopher Kitts went to Tanzania and found it difficult because the local community were suspicious about him as a foreigner traveling to their community at a time that coincided with the outbreak of a global pandemic. That's apparently his problem. That's the huge issue that he needed the almighty, omnipotent creator of the universe to step in and help him with. And of course, as we've already learned, Christopher is on quite close terms with Jehovah because Jehovah trained him personally and helped knock off all of his rough edges. So all Christopher needed to do was approach Jehovah in prayer and ask for help with his depression. And don't even get me started on mental health and the clumsy way this organization approaches mental health. You never hear them advising approaching a counselor or a therapist. There's always some hairy-fairy solution in the Bible or in speaking to the elders. In this case, the solution is, I prayed to Jehovah, and Jehovah inspired me to wake up at 5:30 in the morning so that I could watch the African sunrise.
I'd make my coffee, and I would go outside, and I'd watch the African sun wake up.
Brilliant, Christopher. So that's the solution for people who are struggling with their mental health. Get up early, make yourself a coffee, and watch the sunrise, and that will fix everything. Okay, well, that worked for you. Brilliant. I'm kind of not surprised that it worked for you because, quite frankly, it doesn't sound like your challenge was really all that challenging. It was just you getting used to a different culture and a different community at an awkward time during the outset of a pandemic. But ultimately, what I'm learning from this story is that Christopher Kitts is perfect material to rise up the Jehovah's Witness hierarchy. I don't think I'm being unkind in saying that this guy is clearly full of himself.